Greetings, my absolutely beautiful Cancer friends, and welcome to your 2025 horoscope, where I am so thrilled to walk through another year with you. And in this video, you have got access to 5 expert astrologers breaking down every domain of life for you for your year. Now, I want to tell you, Cancer, yes, Jupiter's moving into your sign this year, so that's going to be huge. It's going to be this wonderful time for expansion and growth. But I also want you to take time as you listen to this video to just juice it in, have an experience with it. Every domain of life, every expert came to bring their work so that you really have as much guidance as you can get from a free resource online to help you live your best life, to navigate what's challenging, to grow and expand in the direction that you want to. So click in the description box down below, go to the timestamps of every area of life. I'll be covering your general transit. Rachel Lang is going to talk to you about all of your relationship astrology for the year. Sama has got you tucked in with the financial. Kira is taking care of your medical and your health for the year. And Tiffany is going to take you through how to really spiritually develop and grow for the year. That's all in the description box down below, beautiful friend. Now, if we haven't met before, I'm practicing professional astrologer Stormie Grace. I am an evolutionary and humanistic astrologer, and I am thrilled to be here with you. And if 2025 Cancer is your year to build or to grow your astrological fluency and knowledge, I want you to come to my school, come to my classes, click in the description box down below, jump in. Let's make sure your foundations are solid. Let's make sure that you can advance that and actually speak the language of astrology, right? If 2025 is your year to do that, I would love to walk that walk with you. And definitely, if you do not have your 2025 digital transit calendar, which brings the transits of the day right to your phone in your time zone so that you can see what's going on, that is in the description box down below as well. All right, my beautiful Cancer friends, let's get ready for a year of expansion. Like I was talking about, we're going to see Jupiter moving into your sign. So this really is a chance for you to look at where you can take an opportunity to have a lot of growth, have a lot of abundance come into your life. But I want to start right now breaking down the specific dates to look out for, even though Jupiter is, yes, the key transit, because it is going to move into your sign. So let's just start this off at the top. So first and foremost, something to bring our attention to is that transiting Pluto is going to officially give us the goods, the long-term stay in Aquarius throughout 2024 and beyond. Now, this is going to be lighting up your 8th house space for about the next 20 years. So as we're paying attention to it in 2025, what we're going to be seeing is that there are going to be these continued themes for you around not just transformation, which that is absolutely Cancer, what Pluto is about, but it's about the shared resources, right? Intimacy, you see into me, sex, renewal of intimacy, renewal of your sexuality, renewal of understanding deep psychological portions of yourself, or maybe there's a mystic or psychological exploration that you're going on. Either way, Pluto's entry into this space as it stays here, we've been seeing it since 2023, has been giving us these sneak peek signals of it being a time where your shared finances, those intimacy, that personal transformation for you, getting rid of old ideas that don't work anymore, it is about for you being in a space of confronting the deep-seated fears, the desires, the things that, are hidden from you that make you tick, that motivate you, your hidden motivations. And what this will do is, first of all, you go into a period of pretty intense discovery of yourself, but you are also going to be looking at things like your financial partnerships. There can be things for many of you Cancers who also come up about death, debt, taxes, inheritance. Everything with joint resources for you is going to undergo a pretty massive shift because it's going to ask you to approach them from a deeper place, a place that has more integrity, right? So I just would encourage you all year long, as you're having this dance, as pain points present themselves, just to embrace the transit as an opportunity to dig deeper, go to that next layer of yourself. If there are past wounds here, right, especially things around trust or power, or there's been any kind of dependency or something like that, this is a chance to actually resolve those things, resolve those past wounds. So be open to this transformation. Now, as we are coming officially into 2025, we're coming in with the brakes on because Mars is retrograde as we're coming in. And that means that the get up and go has got up and went, honey. Okay. It is like not moving forward as quickly as we would like. Now, we're going to see the beginning of this Mars retrograde in 2025 energy in Leo. So lighting up that second house space for you. So you're really reevaluating finances. You're reassessing your personal goals and your own personal values, right? What do you genuinely value? How do you value yourself? And for some of you, this can be a straight up, you're relooking at the possessions that you have, like the things that you actually possess. These are my jewels. This is my money. This is my furniture, these kinds of things. But it is going to, no matter what, with Mars retrograde here, bring your attention to all of these second house things that really in the end go about being a motivation for how you bring material security into your life. Now, Mars is Mars. So Cancer, as we're coming in at the beginning of this month, yeah, maybe you made great strides in 2024, but right here at this point of 2025, you may experience a lot of frustration in managing your finances, or you're expecting your finances to, pop up in a certain way, and it's not happening, and it's going to put you in a position or like prompt you to reconsider your financial priorities, because this transit really, all in all, encourages a very careful reassessment of not only how you save, how you spend, but also how you earn and why you're doing it. Do you value what you are doing? How much value do you place on the clothing that you're wearing, your possessions, and these kinds of things? Now, the one holdup I would provide for you is if you can avoid any major financial decisions or impulse purchases until after Mars goes direct, I think that this is going to be a lot more helpful for you. Instead, reflect on what brings you that sense of security. Look at creating budgets or reevaluating financial goals that make a lot more sense. Now, that's just on the 6th, but when we get to the 7th, going all the way until February 23rd, we've actually got Mars retrograding now back into your sign, so lighting up your first house self. So here's the thing. You're redefining self-assertion, right? You're like, okay, first of all, how do I assert myself? How do I assert myself in a group of people? How do I assert myself in the world? What is my role in my life, my family, my being? Right? Some of you may be rethinking your self-image. I think that that's, you might Mars want to like relook at that. But I also think because Mars is such a motivated energy, you might just really be looking at personal goals. How do I want to do this? What do I want to do with this? But again, it's still Mars. So there is a sense of frustration, I think, in many personal arenas, from your personal projects to that personal image. You're like, I can't decide what I want to wear. Maybe I don't feel comfortable in what I'm wearing right now. But give this a chance with Mars here to take the invitation, reflect on your identity, Cancer, reflect on and encourage a more direct approach to who you are, right? Mars is not sitting and waiting to just feel things out, and you're such a beautiful feeler. And even though Mars is in your sign and has to go with it, it's going to encourage you to be a bit more direct about how you feel about yourself, how you put yourself out there. Now, the other thing I do want to say is that I think the beginning of the year for you, Cancer, is really strong with this Mars retrograde. For getting focused on your self-care, right? Because how you're caring for yourself really is going to, I think if you look at it, it'll give you an opportunity to better align your actions with what's true for you and for your life right now, today. Okay, when we get to January 11th, we're going to see the true north node shift into the vibration of Pisces, lighting up that 9th house space for you. And we'll see the south node shift into Virgo. Now, first of all, we will have a separate video on this particular transit, and we'll really get into the dates and things like that. But what you want to know as we leave the Libra and Aries axes is that now we're going into the space where the 9th house is going to encourage you to seek that spiritual growth, expand your worldview, embrace a sense of wonder, a sense of maybe you don't have all the answers to everything, a sense of creativity. The North Node moving into Pisces is a time to explore in this 9th house your higher learning, moving higher in different stations or jobs, or maybe a training or a certification. Maybe it's travel. It's something you want to study, maybe a new culture, a new religion, whatever it is. It's going to be these subjects that really broaden your perspective, but they also will do the South Node side, because meanwhile, down at the Virgo South Node in your 3rd house, it's going to ask you to let go of being overly analytical about what you think, what you've learned, habits that keep you not actually moving forward, that keep you in analysis paralysis, right? And it's gonna be a period, especially around your thinking and your belief system, Cancer, that is going to ask you to move beyond the comfort and the routine of the knowledge that you've already embraced. Be more open, be more intuitive, be more forgiving. So I really encourage you, as we travel with this energy well until 2026, to embrace the opportunities that, Cancer, are going to encourage you to explore and to expand. Let go of that perfectionism, especially in how you communicate or in how people communicate with you. See what new philosophies and new mysteries open themselves up to you, especially things around spiritual practices, okay? All right, March 1st, we see Venus going retrograde in the vibration of Aries, and this is going to light up your 10th house space. Now, Venus retrograde in your 10th house, first of all, it's going to encourage you to reflect on your professional life, of course, your reputation, the name that we call you in public, the values and the vibe that you bring to your career, to the world, the space that you hold, right? But Venus retrograde is very personal. It's very personal. When planets are retrograde, they're closer to the earth anyway. So we really feel this vibration. So I think that it is quite as possible that this transit brings up unresolved issues, especially in the workplace. And you may be, Cancer, you are really reconsidering your values and your goals, right? You may also have a chance where you are reflecting on how you've been received publicly and whether this image aligns with you or not, which I think is so interesting that you have had Mars and Venus retrograde in these two very public places for you, because it is almost like you're being asked to review how you've been presenting yourself in many different ways. Now, relationships with people who are in a position of authority. And I don't want to just say the government or, your mom or your dad, anything like that, but clients, your clients have some position of authority. Maybe it's a colleague or something like that. But these relationships with authority figures for you could really be tested. Now, where I think it's a great opportunity is it gives you a chance to address any kind of conflicts that are there, to look at how you can redefine, revalue, refine your approach to your professional connections, because Venus is going to be that healing salve who wants to help smooth things over. Now, I would highly suggest avoid making major career changes or initiating new business relationships to the best of your ability until Venus is out of retrograde. Instead, use it as more of that reassessment time to see what you're doing with your goals. And you'll see Venus coming out of its retrograde space in April, okay? All right, when we get to March, we are eclipsing. We've got our first eclipse. It's going to be a full moon lunar eclipse lighting up your third house space, Cancer. And this is going to be in that Virgo vibration. So it's asking you to end something, acknowledge something, make an adjustment. There's a pivot here. And it's about releasing old ideas and old thinking patterns, right? Because the point is, as we pivot and these areas get illuminated, especially related to your communication, your neighbors, your sibling, your mental health habits, who's in your network, you may find yourself ready to release old ways of thinking. And you're like, this just isn't serving me anymore. And it's an ideal time for it, but it's better served, I think, as an ideal time to let go of self-criticism, to let go of that overthinking. Allow for the thinking to become more constructive and less destructive. Now, any conversations that happen with siblings, neighbors, cousins, the close connections in the networks, things like that, I think that there can be a lot of resolution that is brought to this as well. But either way, you're going to be asked from this eclipse moving forward in the next 6 months to reflect on how you communicate and let go of old communication habits that are not working for you. Now, just a few weeks later, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries, again, back in that 10th house energy, and you've had some 10th house stuff to look at. So as the new moon solar eclipse is happening here, It's going to mark this time to plant your seeds of intention. This is a beginning. Plant it to allow these beginnings to blossom in your career zone. So set your intentions for your professional life. But I would encourage you here not to do it very willy-nilly. You know, this is the vibration of Aries. Be direct. Focus on what are your ambitions? What are your goals, Cancer? What are your aspirations for what you want to do, who you want to be in this world, even if it's not your career? If you're like, I want to be the best grandmother in the world. I want to be the best husband in the world. I want to be the best talk show host in the world. Set it. Be direct. Be very Aries about it. And allow yourself permission to take on the new responsibilities and leadership roles that are in alignment with that vision as they present themselves over this next 6 months, okay? Now, when we get to March 30th, we have got Neptune moving into Aries. This is also in that 10th house space, and it's not done yet because just behind that in May, we'll see Saturn move into your 10th house as well. Now, we will also have separate transit videos on these as well. But as Neptune comes into this 10th house space, it's going to bring kind of I like to call it a little bit of an idealistic, mystical kind of quality to your career image. You know, if you're feeling like I want to be a part of a higher purpose, I want to be closer to whatever you call a higher power, explore your career path that aligns more with spiritual beliefs. This could be something that Neptune absolutely brings into this space because it's about having a career. It's about being the person in the world that is in alignment with your inner values and staying grounded to those practical steps. However, Neptune is Neptune. Neptune can bring a fair amount of confusion as well. So you have to be cautious of unrealistic expectations in your public area, your career, your soul level calling, your title that we call you in public. And Neptune is great at dissolving things. So you're going to need to watch and set boundaries that actually help support your goals to getting you to that particular ideal. This is where I think it starts to blow in March. And then by the time we get to May and we get Saturn in Aries, there's a little bit more help here because Saturn is going to help you take responsibility for those professional actions. It's going to help you establish a solid reputation and a solid set of discipline that can go with helping you be the ideal that Neptune is helping you shape, right? And you may find as Saturn gets into Aries, your ambitions, what you say you want, that leadership position you say you want is tested. And you are going to have to demonstrate, Cancer, a work ethic, a commitment that it demands that you be in your mastery, right? You are beyond reproach in some ways, and that you're willing to be this new person, have this new career long term. Okay, so take time during Saturn's move into this 10th house for you to build a strong professional or reputation foundation underneath yourself so that when the challenges approach, you have that patience, you have that discipline, you have that determination to demonstrate your credibility and your mastery. Okay, June 9th, we see Jupiter move into Cancer for the first time in 12 years. So first of all, you can back up 12 years and see what was going on for you, what was happening in your life at that time, because you're going to have some symptoms of that same things at this time. But Jupiter's presence in your first house is about optimism. It's an expansive energy. It's about a new sense of self. It expands your sense of self. It's not that you become new. It's that it expands what is here. But you can, as it's a return to this area for Jupiter, have this sense of being renewed. Right? I have a renewed confidence. I have a renewed openness to different kind of experiences. And I think that this transit massively encourages you to take on new adventures. And sometimes the newest adventure we take on is the one that we've been avoiding the whole time, or it's the new adventure of growing into this ideal person we've said we wanted to be. So your personal growth is paramount at this time. How do you express yourself authentically as this version of yourself? So if you're feeling a bit more outgoing during this transit, you're a little bit more eager, I would encourage you to be about it. Enjoy it. Embrace this period of expression and exploration and discovery. Set goals here, Cancer, that challenge you, but they also are very Jupiterian. They inspire you. Go visit places that you've never been before just so you can understand what's over there. It's a really nice kind of transit in that way. Now, Jupiter is going to come into a square with Saturn on June 15th, but then on the 19th, it's also going to square Neptune. So really the squares are bringing these tension here. Jupiter Saturn is this tension between your personal ambition, what you're like, I want to go this way, and your professional responsibilities. So while Jupiter's here encouraging all of this expansion, this exploration. Saturn is like, you need to be disciplined and focus on what you said we're doing. Focus on this career. So the real trick with Jupiter, Saturn, one's the gas, one's the brakes. It's always about finding the balance between, for you, of course, this first house, 10th house dynamic, which is going to be my personal growth and my career demands. How do I honor both these goals, right? And then with Neptune getting involved in this square, you may feel like you're like so inspired to pursue this big ambitious dream. But Neptune's energy can blur the boundaries a bit, or it leads to some kind of realistic expectation in your career. So where you're being asked during this transit, or where it's, offering encouragement, is to balance that ideal with some kind of grounded approach to how you can get there, okay? July 7th, Uranus is going to move into Gemini, lighting up your 12th house space. And when I tell you this is a spiritual awakening, my friend, that is what I mean for you, okay? You may be exploring your conscious, your subconscious, your unconscious, your dream life. This can be a period where, you're in a little bit of solitude for some reason, but there is a spiritual awakening that is happening. And even if the awakening is this unexpected insight and you're curious now about exploring your own inner world, right? You're like, I want to go more intuitively into the exploration of myself. I want to approach my healing. I want to approach my mind in a different way. So if you're feeling yourself, Cancer, at this time of the year, drawn to alternative spiritual practices, or you experience like a sudden insight that gives you this deep understanding of something that's been going on in your subconscious, I would ask you to, first of all, embrace the period, right? I'm going to tell you this all throughout my particular section of this horoscope is embrace it. Embrace where you can. Embrace this period for exploration. Allow yourself to explore meditation, dreams, practices, your unconscious, right? Allow yourself to explore places you haven't wanted to go. If you've been like, I never want to go to a 12-step group, right? Maybe it's a time to have a sudden insight and be open to that kind of support. If you're like, I never want to talk about this thing, or I never want to try this thing, maybe it's a time for your own personal healing to be a little bit more open-minded. All right, when we get to July 31st, we see Saturn and Neptune officially in a conjunction, and this is beautiful. I think that this is beautiful because Neptune's idealism is so good. It's so delicious. It is so good, delicious. You have a vision about your career or who you want to be in the world, and that Neptune vibration is going to encourage you to keep dreaming it, keep creating it. We have to create it in an intangible place before we can make it tangible. But then Saturn is going to encourage you to ground that dream in some kind of reality so that you can pick a path in order to get there, right? It's a time for not just manifesting in terms of creating just the vision, but picking a professional path or a reputation path that not only lets you leave a legacy, but brings you clarity on the steps you need to take to get there. Okay, September brings us back to eclipse time. We've got a full moon lunar eclipse. This time it's in Pisces, so lighting up your 9th house space. Now, this eclipse in your 9th house is going to, first of all, still ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or adjust something. We have to pivot. This is a pivot point in the road from where we were 6 months ago. And you're looking at your highest beliefs and philosophies, Cancer, right? Some of them they don't resonate. They don't support your growth anymore. So this eclipse will eclipse you. You're going to be blotted out in some way. And so you will be put in a position to let go of what are limiting perspectives. You're going to be put in a position to expand. Pisces is an expansive energy. Embrace a more expansive understanding of life, right? It's a time for spiritual reflection. Is your 9th house, so there could definitely be some travel. Maybe you're moving behind the scenes in some way. Maybe you're studying abroad, a different language, something like that. Cancer could definitely have you in a position where you're having a spiritual experience out of your own country, right? So allow yourself at this particular eclipse to release those outdated beliefs. Try to embrace something more open-minded, but use this time to understand that the eclipse is encouraging you to seek meaning and seek wisdom that is beyond what has been familiar to you, but deeply resonates with you as well. Now, as I'm going to close out my portion, I want to walk you through this new moon solar eclipse that's happening in Virgo on September 21st. Now, this eclipse in your third house is going to bring a fresh start in communication. Now, months and months and months ago, you were working on breaking down communication. It's like, this is not working out. And now you've got an opportunity to plant your seeds of intention for improved communication skills, new educational projects. Maybe you want to teach something. Maybe you want to learn something. Maybe you want to write that book. Maybe you want to engage more meaningfully and deeply with your siblings, right? Whatever you feel inspired to enhance your communication and understanding life around, this is going to be a great time to absolutely set your intentions for clear and effective communication. And I would encourage you, if it's time, consider beginning that new course of study. Find ways to actively engage and communicate more positively in the spaces that you're at locally, just beyond your house, maybe just in your community. Wherever these spaces are for you, just know that the eclipse is an invitation to embrace that communication space, embrace your curiosity, and to bring your interaction with others to an absolutely new level. Okay, my beautiful Cancer friends, head over now into your relationship horoscope with the beautiful Miss Rachel Lang, and I will see you all year long.
Cancer, here is your horoscope for love and relationships for 2025. And I have some good news for you before we really get into things. You can breathe a sigh of relief. Pluto has been in your opposite sign since 2008, and as of November 19th, 2024, it will enter Aquarius and it will be out of your sign, really easing some pressure in your relationships. Pluto has put you through a trial by fire. And when it comes to love and relationships, you've had a lot of ups and downs over the course of that transit. Sometimes there have been losses, there have been obsessions, the whole spectrum of relationships you have been exploring, and you're out on the other side of it. And in addition to that, the eclipses last year, which were in March of 2024 and September and October of 2024, also put a lot of pressure on you. So you're coming out of some more introspective times. You're coming out from a couple of really significant cycles that signified starts, stops, in all aspects of relationships. And now you are moving into a new chapter. So let's get into it and let's see what this year has in store for you. Here is my contact information if you need to find out anything more about me and my practice. And here's just an overview of the main transits for the year. And it's quite a year for love and relationships just in general. We have outer planets changing signs. Neptune moves into Aries. Uranus moves back and forth from Gemini to Taurus. Saturn is going to be moving back and forth from Pisces to Aries as well. And so there's a lot of shifting currents, a lot of change. And so it's not the year when you're going to feel the most stable in relationships, but your job is going to be to create stability wherever you can. And so I think this is going to be a year where you can really take advantage of some of that shifting energy, and you can sink that stability or security into property, into a home, into settling down with a partner. Venus and Mars are both going retrograde this year, and those are our relationship planets. So you can imagine there's a lot of introspection. There's a lot of questioning. What do I want in relationships and where am I going? And do my visions align with my partner's visions? Or if you're single, what am I really looking for in a partner? And so there's a lot of going backward, which you're good at. You're nostalgic, in order to shoot forward, which you're doing really in July. July, Jupiter enters your sign. So let's talk about each one of these and go take them one by one. So the first one we're going to start with is Mars retrograde. Mars is the planet of fire. It's the planet of passion, it's action, it's direction and motivation. Mars is going retrograde from December 6th, 2024 to February 23rd, and it's going to be retrograde in your sign for a period of that time. And really from January all the way until April, we have Mars moving retrograde, moving slowly. And so this could put some pressure on your relationships, and it could put pressure if there are any conflicts that are just brewing beneath the surface. This one brings them up front and center, makes you pay attention to them. And you are going to particularly feel this push-pull between yourself and your own individuated needs and the needs of your family, the needs of your partner, the needs of your business partner, of anyone coming into your life. And so you might be faced with some conflicts, you might be faced with some polarity. And all of that is to get you clear and more directed about what you need and what you want in relationships, and whether or not those relationships are playing out codependent patterns, or whether or not there's some passive aggressive tendencies in those relationships. It's a time to be very direct and very focused. You could also feel a lack of motivation or a lack of drive. You could be more tired. This is affecting your physical, and it's also shining a little bit of a light on your finances. So these are the times to have real honest conversations with your partner about your home expenses. Or if you're feeling like you want to bring more money in, how can you open up those pathways? It's not the time to hide out and be quiet about any concerns that you have. You tend to be moving faster than anyone in a relationship with because you are oriented to think about the future. You're a cardinal sign. You have a real strong sense of what could go wrong at any time. And so if you're feeling something, trust it, don't ignore it, and talk about it. Bring it out into the open. Mars retrograde can also be a time when people from your past, lovers from your past, are coming back into your life. This is something that we want to be just a little sensitive about, because retrograde cycles are often a retrospective and not often the real thing. And we don't know if a relationship that the spark reignites, we don't know if that is going to last until after Mars is well out of its shadow. And I would say really mid-April, late April. So if you have a fling that starts at the beginning of the year or over the holidays, you want to go in slow. You want to take it easy. You don't want to completely put your heart on the line until you have a little bit more clarity about how you feel in that relationship. We can also pick up other people's feelings. You in particular can pick up others' feelings. And this Mars retrograde is one of those times when the boundaries between yourself and others are more fluid. And so this can be one of those times when you really want to reinforce your boundaries. You really want to think about taking the time and the space that you need, not overcommitting. You're not going to have as much energy. And so just be gentle with yourself. And because of that, there's more time to sink into your spiritual self, to do some healing. And that's really pronounced over the course of this year. Neptune and Saturn are both moving into Aries. They dip into Aries and then dip out at the end of the year and go fully into Aries and meet up in February of 2026. So this is significant. The last time Neptune was in Aries, it was 165 years ago, and that was the start of the Civil War. Aries is the sign that's associated with our individuation, with our pioneering instinct, the I want to do this and I am going in this way. And so all of our relationships are taking on that tone. And it's like we all have to go through this period where we really learn what narcissism is and how to avoid those kinds of behavior patterns in relationships, or how to assert ourselves when we're in relationships with people who can be a little selfish or narcissistic. So this is a good time leading up to this. It's a good time to be having that frame of reference as you interact with people and as you are clear about your own needs. Neptune is the mystical qualities, it's our dreams, it's our visions for the future, it's romantic. And Saturn is really practical, it's really stable. So I think about these two planets coming together and being in Aries as a time when we can really build a framework for our dreams. But in the midst of that, frameworks, if you look at this framework for this building, the building is the dream, it is the concept, it is the idea. But the framework requires a lot of hard work, a lot of right angles, the right kind of tension, the right kind of stability and structure, and the right tools and materials. And that's really what you're doing. Aries isn't specifically a relationship-oriented sign for you, but it is a sign that has the same quality as in a cardinal sign. And so there's naturally this sense of tension that you feel for creating a framework for the things that you want in relationships and in other areas of your life too, like your career. But those areas of your life start bleeding together, and you start to see that if you create new structures in your career, then the relationship's going to shift and vice versa. Venus is retrograde from March 1st to April 12th, and this is a time for reassessing what brings you pleasure. Relationships are Venus's strong suit, but Venus is also related to harmony, to balance. And so when Venus is retrograde, we tend to not have as much fun. Things don't feel as joyful. And so we have to go out of our way to make time for enjoying ourselves, make time for romance, because it can be so much on the back burner. The other thing that happens during Venus retrograde, and this is especially true for you, is there can be a lot of focus on other areas of our lives outside of relationships. If you're single, this is a time to put the desire for relationships on a shelf and really prioritize yourself. Self-love is going to be a big theme that plays out for this Venus retrograde because it goes retrograde from Aries to Pisces. So it's self-love, it's understanding our own needs in relationships, our own sticky points, where our heart needs to heal, the ways in which we have walls built up that keep us from intimacy. And then when Venus goes into Pisces, then that's a real time when we start to think about bringing compassion in for ourselves, for others. But these signs can be Aries is definitely the sign of the self. Venus, Pisces is the sign of altruism, sign of love for humanity, that agape friendship love, that universal love. And so and so we're opening up new frames of reference for ourselves in relationship. And this can be one of those times when you're networking or you're prioritizing friendships or you're thinking about branching out and expanding your social circle, really being aware of the ways in which you're ready to be challenged by new relationships and you're ready to let new people in. March is one of those highlights for the year. There's a lot happening in March, and we have the eclipses. So that's the first thing. It's also Mercury retrograde. So March is one of those times when all of us have questions about our relationships. And we could see a lot of shifting with relationships, people getting back together, people separating, people breaking up, getting engaged, like taking the relationship to the next level. It's almost as if all of us are aware of what it is that we most long for, whether it's to be free and single, to have friendships and to really invest in ourselves, or whether it's starting a family. We're all getting our ducks in a row, and this especially applies to you. These eclipses are a little bit gentler than last year's eclipses. They happen in the axis line between Virgo and Pisces. And so there's a lot of healing. There's a lot of coming together in new ways. The lunar eclipse on March 13th features a Pisces stellium. And you can see here with Saturn, the Sun, the North Node, and Neptune. And you can see here, we have Saturn and Neptune like bookends around the Sun and the North Node. The Sun and the North Node are points of purpose that show us what we are prioritizing, what we're shining a light on. And for you, this is really your beliefs. You're looking at limiting beliefs. You're looking at the dreams that you have. That's Neptune's influence. Neptune's at the 29th degree. This is a really unstable degree that opens you up for creative change, that tells you that if you can vision it, if you can dream it, then you can start the process of making it happen. This is a very independent lunation, and it is one where there's an openness for healing. And you see over here, Mars is in your sign. So there's the fire underneath you that might be pulling you away from other people, especially people who are getting on your nerves or frustrating you, or who you perceive to be standing in between you and where you want to go. It's like you're pushing obstacles out of the way and you're healing what's necessary for you to have a greater experience of love. The solar eclipse on March 29th is full of Aries energy. This shines a real light in your solar house of career, which means that there's a real push for you to be thinking about forming professional relationships, which means that you might have to take some time away from your home and really balancing the tension between the obligations of your personal life and the things that you want to do and the things that you have to do. But this is a new beginning aspect. This is like a new beginning that comes with a bang because eclipses tend to shake things up in a way that sparks change. Change that we both want and that we are moving toward and we're open to, and sometimes change that can be a little bit more resistant for us, or we can be resistant to, because it's not clear what we're moving into. It brings us into the unknown. And you see the conjunction between Venus retrograde and Neptune and the North Node. Venus is a very big player here, and she's really anchoring you in the ideals of what you desire in love. And if there's some aspect of your relationship that doesn't match those ideals, then this is going to be very uncomfortable. And Mars is hanging out here, ready to speak up, ready to negotiate, and to make a splash. If you're single, this can be one of those lunations where you really start to feel the strong desire to be in a relationship. If you have it and you've been thinking about it, this can be the instigator of the changes that are necessary to get you to that point. Also, one thing I'll mention is that Mars is at the degree opposite of where the January eclipse and the Saturn Pluto conjunction were. So there could be reflecting back on things that were happening in your life in 2020, right at the start of the pandemic, before the pandemic actually, and all through that year. You could go back and you could replace some of those circumstances and maybe be compelled to bring up, like dredge up things that were unresolved from the past. Mercury's retrograde during this eclipse and Venus is retrograde. So there's a lot of history that's coming in, and it's important to clarify what's a trigger from the past and what's present in this current day reality. And then in April, Pluto stands opposite, or Mars stands opposite Pluto. And this is an opposition that relates back to a synodic cycle between these two that started in February of 2024. And so Mars is in Leo, the passion, the romance, all of these things are built up. And that opposition with Pluto is a balance, like a polarity between the head and the heart. It's a polarity between what my heart longs for and what I want in terms of my intimacy needs. And that Aquarius part of the polarity where Pluto is, and it's related to the innovations that are taking place in my life. It's like the head and the heart are at odds. And there could be, because Mars in Cancer can let things stew beneath the surface, this can be one of those times when any unresolved conflict is coming out for you to see. And it's important not to feed the drama, but to really look at collaborative solutions. Jupiter enters your sign this year, July 9th, and it's going to be in your sign until July 29th of 2026. And this is a lovely transit that opens up the door for you to have things that you desire. And I see when Jupiter is making its way through our sign, that can be one of those years. It's a 12-month cycle. It can be one of those years where you're welcoming new opportunities, new experiences in love. They're joyful experiences. And so this can be one of those transits that relates to getting engaged, starting a family, buying a home, those big milestones that tend to happen whenever Jupiter is in a favorable aspect with our sign. And no matter what degree your sun is in, at some point, Jupiter is going to make its way to your life. And so the key with this one is open your heart. Take down some of those walls and also really focus on yourself, on your goals, on your priorities. If you're having issues with a partner, maybe this is the time to go into therapy and work things out. And it's also a time when we can reconnect with our family members. And all of us are going through that aspect of this transit. But for you, this is a very self-directed, self-focused transit. So don't be afraid to put the spotlight on you and prioritize yourself this year. Mercury retrograde cycles tend to be times when relationships are put under some pressure. And this year is no exception. Now, these retrogrades are all taking place in fire signs, which is a little bit gentler for you. That means they're not going to be stationing or moving into your sign or into signs that challenge yours. The one that I wanted to spotlight for you was the one from March 14th to April 7th. We've talked a lot about March and those eclipses, and I just wanted to bring this up too, because this is one of those times when you are working through so much those questions about relationships and the tension that you might have in your relationships. And so this can be one of those times when communication's just a little bit more confusing, when you might not feel understood. And because there's so much other astrology happening in March at that time, if you feel like this sudden urge to make a relationship change, give it some time. Take a beat. You don't have to take any action on the insights and awareness that come up for you. You can create stability for yourself in the midst of those shifting currents. But I can imagine that March is going to see a lot of movement in relationships, either toward the relationship or a recommitment if you've been going through some stress or breakups. This is one of those more challenging points in the year. September eclipses are also times where we could see a lot of those relationship ups and downs. Eclipses on the Pisces Virgo axis line are a little bit more graceful for you, but for all of us, they present opportunities for healing and heart healing in particular. And so you might be aware of family dynamics or friendships or loneliness that, so other relationships outside of the context of your romantic relationships, you might be aware of ways that those could open up and evolve through these eclipse windows. The eclipse on September 7th, this is a lunar eclipse. We have Saturn at 29 degrees of Pisces. And when any planet is at 29 degrees of any sign, it's not quite finished with one cycle, but it's not in the next cycle. So it gives us all this feeling of unease, like, where am I going? And I'm not quite ready to leave where I've been, but I'm not sure where I'm going. And for you, this puts a little bit of pressure on you because you're a cardinal sign, you tend to be more aware of where you're going and tend to want to have a destination in mind. This can be a little challenging for you in relationships because a couple of different horizon lines that you can see and you can't quite figure out which one to navigate toward. And some of this has to do with the relationship between Mars and Chiron is going to be meeting Eris in 2025 and in 2026. And so it's adding some disruption, some discord that really relates to past situations. So it's not as much about what is taking place today in our present day relationships, it's more of like hangovers, things that have been unresolved from our childhoods or from our young adult years. And Mars is in Libra for this eclipse, not really giving us much of an expression or much of a way of having an outlet for that frustration that's building up. And it all culminates with the solar eclipse on September 21st. And this is, wow, what an eclipse this is. There's a lot of healing that's taking place for this eclipse, but it could come through just really needing to let go of resentment, let go of beliefs, thoughts, expectations that you have of how your relationship would be or of how your partnerships would be. This is because Neptune and Saturn are so strongly involved in this lunation. We are aware of the dreams, and we're aware of the dreams that didn't come together and the ways in which those dreams aren't going to be fulfilled. And so it's really a time to press the reset button and to create the pathway forward. It's a time of letting go, dropping your bags off and walking through airport security untethered, knowing and trusting that when you get to your destination, you're going to have everything you need. And that's really the spirit of this lunation. There's so many points at the last degrees of their sign. We have Mars, we have the sun, we have the moon, Saturn. Neptune's hovering right there, going retrograde, about to be moving backward into the 29th degree of Pisces. And so here you have the 29th degree is instability, but it's not as if there's a disruption or there's a collapse. It's more of we're patching up the framework of what isn't working. We're patching those holes in the foundation so that we can build something that we really want to have and want to see. And the kite aspect pattern is, I think, a stunning aspect for this lunation because it says that you have a sense of where you are aimed, your focus is directed, you know where you're going, things can happen fast. In the 2 weeks leading up to that eclipse, be willing to let go. Be willing to say, I am embracing the unknown and I am going to take an adventure. If you can get out and travel, that would be a really good way to make the most of this influence because is your solar third house, which is like road trips. It's a way you communicate and it's your neighborhood and your community. But travel is really one of the features of that placement. And then Saturn and Neptune are both going to be moving up in your solar ninth house, which relates to expanded horizons. So this would be a great time to build community networks, to repair relationships with siblings or with neighbors if you've been challenged in your relationship with your neighbors. And it's also a time that if you are in a relationship, plan a road trip, do something to build more intimacy. And sometimes that means getting out of your everyday routine. Then Uranus enters Gemini. This is another big movement. Uranus is going to dip into Gemini from July 7th to November 8th, and then it fully enters Gemini on April 25th, 2026. Gemini is a sign that relates to how you communicate, how you express yourself, and how you reveal some of the more intimate aspects of yourself in relationships. So it actually relates a little bit to your vulnerability. And Uranus frees you to begin to open yourself in that way. Uranus is the planet that relates to freedom. It's also the planet of innovation. And so it shows in what areas of your life are you seeing a lot of perhaps rapid change and relying on technology to really move you into your future. This is not specifically a relationship focused placement for you, but it's your relationship with yourself. It's the deep innermost part of you. So this could be the time to be looking at how technology can support you in expressing yourself in a more effective way. It can also be a time when you're spotlighting the ways that you interact with people that you love, or people in your professional life? Are you expressing yourself in a way that really feels authentic? Uranus gives you a boost of courage for opening up and letting others feel your charisma. I wanted to point out November 15th through the 17th, we've got some great astrology. This kind of concludes the year in a way that's really supportive. It's a harmonious grand trine in water signs, so Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And this is like a healing balm all over your relationships. It supports emotional flow, understanding, a sense of peace between you and your loved ones. And there's a lot of coming together that happens. Actually, on November 15th, if you add the moon in, we have a grand sextile aspect pattern, which is a rare pattern, which is like a completion. And so this is the time, if you've had relationship challenges, this is the time when you're coming back together. This is the time when you can take steps to build the house of your dreams, the relationship of your dreams. You can think about ways to nurture a family or start a family if you're in that phase of life. If you are watching your children leave the home, this grand trine can be a time when you and your partner are reconnecting in new ways and learning how to live in this new paradigm, this new chapter. And we close the year with Mars in Capricorn. So we start the year with Mars in Cancer. We close the year with Mars in Capricorn. And this fires you up to set goals and to make your priorities for 2026. And so there's a lot of shifting currents. There's a lot of change this year and next year, actually from 2024 to 2026. All of those outer planets are changing signs. There's a lot of fluctuation. And so your goal for 2025 is to find stability, to create stability. It's actually an incredibly creative time for you. And so here's your mood board. And I included pictures that involve like luck and promise and dreams, that involve self-love, that involve bringing new life into the world, nurturing new life, reaching for the stars, and reconnection, either with people from your past or with past versions of yourself, or healing relationships where there needs to be some closure. All right, Cancer, it's going to be a great year for you. I'm married to a Cancer, so I happen to be really partial to your sign. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the way evolve for you as well. Have a great 2025.
Cancers, you guys have the North Node moving into your ninth house in the sign of Pisces. This talks about higher learning, foreign investments, travel, and expansion. So this is going to look like investments in international ventures benefiting some of you, whether it's foreign markets, foreign investments, overseas investments. Some of you guys can consider investing in international real estate, foreign stocks, or businesses that are really operating on a global scale or a country outside of the one that you live in. So, really expanding beyond familiar financial territories while being careful. Sometimes things get lost as it relates to Pisces, so just make sure you understand the language or you're working with people that can really have your back is key there, especially when we have Neptune moving into the ninth house. On February 7th, we want to be careful that we're not seeing things with rose-colored glasses, right? Because there can be a sense of opportunism and hopefulness here, and a sense of confusion that Neptune can bring sometimes, which can really blur how risky something looks. So really having thorough due diligence and not getting over leveraged with borrowing money, being careful with the money that we borrow if we're looking at any of that for international ventures is going to be important. Okay. So, but what Neptune can do here on a positive side is really bring profitability with investments that promote global well-being, like eco-friendly real estate, sustainable tourism, spiritual retreats, things that have to do with mindfulness, meditation, and people's goals, learning about legalities, just travel, or even just tourism in general. Just do thorough research before you commit your money to anything. This is going to be a really supportive time as well for publishing and advertising. If you're involved in the media, this can be a good time to launch any new projects or initiatives that reach a broader audience. Anything like that is very likely to help potentially increase your income. One of the sectors in which you might be inclined to spend money, and this can be beneficial for you, is on higher education or developing any skills. So this is a great time to invest in yourself over the next year or so. So this can actually lead to significant financial rewards, especially if it's related to anything legal, academic, or related to travel in the long run. Okay. Now, February 24th, Mars is going to move direct in your first house of you. Cancer, the sign of the crab, which talks about personal identity, new ventures, your drive, and how people see you. Okay, and so from the financial perspective, this talks about some of you taking assertive financial initiatives. All right, so I like this if the moon is placed well in your chart, and if Mars is placed well in your chart naturally, if there's good aspects here. If not, we want to be careful about taking financial risks that we feel confident about from an emotional place without having, again, the facts and in a clear measure with where Neptune is, it relates to our long-term goals. So we want to be a little careful there. But if we have thought these things through, particularly if these are topics or things that we have thought about moving forward with for the past, let's say 3-4 months, going back into 2024, particularly in December, this can be a great time to take assertive financial initiatives for a business venture or any new financial opportunities, okay? Particularly if it's a self-employed career path, some of you are going to be starting your adventures in that path, and it's actually going to pay off for you. Home investments are going to look very good here, where some of you decide to invest in personal real estate. Maybe it's purchasing your own first home or renovating an existing property. These can be projects that really increase the value of the property, is what this looks like for many Cancers. Mars in Cancer emphasizes security, which is going to be a good time for many of you to actually just reassess your personal budget and savings and make sure you have clear, assertive plans to meet the goals that you actually have set for yourselves, all right? Then March 14th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. Something is coming to fruition in the house of communication, local trade and networking, peers and co-workers, your local community. From the financial perspectives, this can look like business negotiations. This eclipse in the third can bring key developments in negotiations, contracts, or communication-related ventures. You might close an important deal that actually improves your financial outlook or end a partnership that's no longer beneficial for you. Local investments look really good here, whether it's more focused there, such as like small businesses, real estate in your immediate neighborhood, or improving communication or travel, or just working with your local professional network, right? Attending mixers, getting to know who's who, and potentially partnering on deals with people in town. Okay, you can use social media to do that too, but this is more about people in the same city, state, region as you, okay? And networking and contracts here look good, so financial gains can come through networking and these partnerships that you make during this period. The full moon eclipse can actually help bring closure or clarity to any contracts, particularly if there were deals that you had working previously or you were considering moving forward. This can be the time to really solidify those new deals. May 24th in 2025, we will have Saturn in your 10th house of Aries, which talks about career, public image, and leadership. This is long-term career growth for many of you, where Saturn wants to put emphasis on structured long-term career planning. So some of you might need to take on more responsibility or just more leadership roles in your career, but these efforts will yield financial rewards down the road. This is a 2.5 to 3 year transit traditionally with Saturn, so be patient, put in daily efforts, and you will see that long-term career growth leading to financial gains in the long run. Public image can be a theme here, where your financial success will be tied closely to how you present yourself publicly. Right? Saturn means if you're doing things right, the rewards can come. If not, then you'll be publicly visible in terms of how things don't necessarily look as good in some cases. So this is going to be a great time to refine your professional brand and put closure to parts of the brand or your image that no longer work for you. And Saturn really encourages discipline and maintaining a solid reputation in your industry. So structured investments here. Investments in stable industries such as infrastructure, government projects, long-standing corporations, real estate. These can be agriculture as well. Some of these can be very much more appealing to invest in or look at or companies to work for during this period. Saturn rewards patience and discipline, so anything that's too risky here, you might not want to be involved in as it relates to your long-term career. Now, Jupiter's going to enter your first house of you in June, which is going to be nice. It's going to be expansive. It's going to help with your personal growth, new beginnings, and your own identity. Now, that's going to impact finances in terms of expanding personal ventures, where the can have financial implications by what you embark on. So whether that's a new business venture, a new personal project, or a new career path, some of these, for some of you Cancers, are really going to expand your financial potential. So go for it. Real estate and home investments for some of you is going to be very profitable, where you can see benefits in real estate investments or home-related businesses. So it can be a really good time to buy or sell property, particularly related those to any family investments that you make with family or for families, or long-term security. Now, income growth here can be, again, through new job opportunities, promotions, or bonuses, where your image and just how people see you is being blessed by Jupiter. So you're being expanded, you're getting good luck, you're getting opportunities. Don't think these opportunities will last forever. This is going to be with you for a year, from June of this year to about the middle of next year. So grab the opportunities that you like, especially if they're in areas related to nurturing, caregiving, or real estate. Okay? And then July 7th, Uranus enters Gemini in the 12th house of hidden wealth, your subconscious, and your secrets, Cancers. And so this is where some unexpected hidden wealth can come to bless you. And this can be unexpected sources such as inheritances, undiscovered assets, or forgotten investments. Maybe it's a crypto wallet you forgot about, a bank account you forgot about, an investment you made that you didn't think was going to pan out, and all of a sudden it works out. And so innovative spiritual ventures look good here too, where you can find opportunities related to spirituality, holistic healing, or psychological services. Uranus's influence here brings innovation to these areas, possibly through online platforms or technology-driven services. And this can be really good for unconventional investments as well, where it's like financial tech or digital assets. Just be prepared for sudden shifts and volatility, especially with crypto. If you're getting into that, that can be a very up and down kind of space. Look to get into it more for a long-term placement, particularly since Uranus is going to be here for quite some time, making changes to markets and currencies. Now, September 7th on 2025, we'll have a full moon eclipse in your 9th house of hopes and dreams and goals and purpose, higher learning, foreign investments, and travel. Financially, these can culminate in the completion of an international investment, visa matters, the ability to travel, or expansion into foreign markets or real estate. You might decide to sell a property or sell a business abroad that can bring you financial rewards. This can be educational investments which really benefit you. It can be a great time to really finalize or pay for any courses or certifications that help with your career. This can be going to college or getting a promotion or a certification for some of you. Legal affairs, you might see closure in legal matters related to investments or foreign business deals, which can really help you financially or end a long-standing dispute for some of you. Then on the 21st of September, a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo in the 3rd house. So this is about communication, local trade, networking, local environment, co-workers, siblings. Financially, this can be new business opportunities with such people, places, and things. So if it's related to communication, sales, or technology, or starting a local business, expanding your local network, this is a great time to do it. Go for it. Contract negotiations look good here as well. The solar eclipse can provide opportunities to sign new contracts, which can lead to new long-term financial stability. I wouldn't do it on the day of the eclipse though, but be thorough in your negotiations and make sure the terms are favorable for you. And again, investing in any communication technologies, any AI software or technological forms related to media, communication, all these can actually help you out and yield positive results. So the eclipse energy really supports innovation and calculated risks related to these sectors for you. And with that, all that's looking really good here. It's looking like a good year, particularly related to real estate for you. Mars in Cancer is going to be pushing you a lot in the beginning of the year, but overall, financially, things are looking positive. So with that, check out my yearly report if you are looking for some non-financial advice on what types of ETFs or stocks are looking beneficial with financial astrology to be profitable throughout the year, or book a session if you want me to look at your chart. Be well, one love to you, and peace.
Hey there, my gorgeous Cancerians. It is your 2025 kind of health astrology. I'm Kira Sutherland. Great pleasure to be doing health astrology for you for the year. In looking at all the transits, I was doing this big review when Stormie asked me to do all of this, and looking at all the transits, and I was like, oh, there's not a big transit happening through, I mean, there are always transits of the personal planet through your sign, but none of the big transits are happening in your sign. Yes, some of them are opposite or square, a little bit of friction and adjustment, but I like that for you. I like that in some ways, the transits that are going to happen are more your personal planets and a year ahead of, yeah, personal attention and supporting yourself. So what is happening? We are starting the year with Mars retrograde on January 1st through to the 14th of Feb, depending on where you live. It'll be a day off to that. But the thing I would ask you there, is where is, so if you're a Cancer rising, the Mars retrograde is happening in Leo, which is the second house. So Leo retrograde in your second house of values, I'm sure you know your regular astrology, but when we're talking about values in health, how you value your physical body, what you feel about your physical body, how you spend your money on food or other pleasures that you ingest, be it alcohol or activities. And so there's a kind of a review there about what is of value that you want to be purchasing to put in your body, but also how you value yourself. And I love that. I love that there's this start of the year. I don't want you to start it in a big bang and, do all these major changes. You actually have kind of 5-ish, 6 weeks to really review how you do your Mars. Mars is about your action and your drive. It is inflammation in medical astrology and the adrenals, but it's how we do our activity and our sport. And it being in the second house, especially if you're a Cancer rising, if you're a Cancer sun, you just need to look at what house Mars is actually going to be sitting in or transiting through. And I really ask you to review what is of value for you, physical fitness wise, food wise, how you love your body or not, and how you want to make those adjustments. Adding on top of that, we have our 3 retrogrades of Mercury every year. They are happening this year. I'll tell you what months. They're happening March, April, from Aries to Pisces. They're happening July to August in Leo, and then November from Sag to Scorpio. So again, all of these retros are starting in fire signs. You would want to, again, look at what house Mercury is going to be occupying or houses during this retrograde. But, Mercury is our nervous system and our breath and how our body communicates with itself. And, as a Cancerian or a strong Cancer chart, you communicate a lot with yourself and with others through an emotional sphere, through a filter of how does it make you feel. And I love that, especially with 2 of these retrogrades going back into a water sign. But I want you to take the time during these Mercury retros to reassess again what you do with how you feel about your health. And also because it's Mercury, I want you to actually think about nourishing that nervous system, nourishing how the communication happens in your body and how you can support that. Mercury ruling the nervous system. Your nervous system is nourished by foods that are high in magnesium, your B vitamin foods, your essential fatty acids like oily fish, seeds and nuts, avocado. And again, whether you choose supplements or foods, that's up to you. But if you're taking any medication, always check with a health practitioner about any supplements you want to take. But, nourishing your nervous system, which, how we feel emotionally is very connected to how our nervous system is regulating and operating. And I would love you to take some time during all the retrogrades this year to sit back. Again, look at what house Mercury is going to be going through for you, and then how you can take that time where we're not pushing forward to nourish the nervous system. Being outside, barefoot, grounding, earthing, forest bathing, whatever they call it. Breathing exercises is a great thing to slow down and do within the body. And when we let that nervous system relax, the beauty is a relaxed nervous system means a stronger digestive system. And you, as Cancerians, rule the stomach and emotions and how we digest and process things, not just food, but how we process life. And so by supporting the nervous system, you are supporting your digestive system. So it's a really great way to do it that way. Just like having fabulous for you is digestive warming teas like ginger or let's see, what else do I love? Ginger, lemongrass, which is also called Melissa. These are great warming digestive teas, which calm the nervous system, and again, would be fabulous for you, supporting that kind of colder digestive system. What else? Last but not least, we have Saturn still sitting in Pisces right now until it moves into Aries near the end of May. So it's been trining you as a Cancer or your Cancer rising. It's been trining for, almost 3 years, 2.5 years, and it's going to move into Aries. It will move back and then in September to Pisces. But again, Saturn is going to be squaring Cancer. So in the lead up to May, this is a great time to really think about, Saturn is form and structure, but it's form and structure in your physical body as well. So it's your skin, which protects you from the outside world. It's your skeleton that holds you up. And it's also structure around habits and diet and lifestyle. And with it squaring, going into Aries and then squaring the Cancer sign, it's a time to make some adjustments before that happens. With it trining right now with you in Pisces, it's easier to make some of those adjustments. And then when it hits into Aries, it's like you get that little bit of a friction from that square, which can actually motivate you to implement some of the things you've been thinking about. So I would really love you to kind of vision board and think about, especially as we go towards May, how you want to change some structures in your life. Or is there, Saturn rules weight loss, restrictive eating. It can rule slowing things down. So or under functioning. So it's a great time, as we talked about, supporting your digestive system before this comes into play in May. But also, what is it that you want to be doing with your own form and structure? And kind of starting slowly to implement that before it hits into Aries in May. And then often the square gives us the energy to really lay that stuff down. So that's one of the things I would really love, because as it squares your sun or your rising for the next 3 years, once it permanently goes in, sometimes we're asked to make changes that we weren't planning on. So I love that preventative health and doing some of the changes before it happens. But yeah, overall, it's like a prep year for you. I want you to think about and feel into, rather than think, what you want to change, how you want it to look. Do that vision board in January with Mars retro, and those healthy things you want to bring in and embody. and slowly work on that till we get to kind of the second half of the year and definitely implementing them. But yeah, I see it as a prep year for you. And hopefully that's actually, I don't think that big of bumps and things like that. I think a lot of things are releasing. You can let go of a lot of stuff, but always plan when you're releasing what you want to bring in. Okay, happy 2025 to you all.
Hey, Cancer, and welcome to your spiritual development forecast. My name is Tiffany Harlick, and I am so honored to walk through the year with you from the lens of spiritual development. So before we get started, I want you to jump down to the description box, click the link to download your 2025 horoscope, which is a PDF, and you'll be able to use that throughout the presentation and also refer back to it all throughout the year. So while you're doing that, let me overlay some numerology into our astrology forecast. This year, 2025, is a 9 in the numerology. So numerology breaks down our years into cycles of 9. So 1 through 9, and we're at the end of a 9-year cycle. So this is about really harvesting the fruits and integrating lessons, ideas, collaborating with people that you've met over the last 9 years. But this is a year of ending, closure, completion, which there's always some loose ends to tie up throughout the year, but it leads into new beginnings. And so where that ending and beginning starts, right, that's going to be up for you to understand, discern, and decide. But just go slow and be patient with yourself, because sometimes with that 9 energy, there's a sense of urgency. We're ready to get something done and start something new. And this, again, it's about completion and culmination. So considering that, let's also jump into the presentation today. So yes, Cancer, one more little fun thing for you before we get started is if you use the code Stormie 2025, you'll get $10 off of the digital astrology calendar, which is something I've been writing for the last 7-8 years now. And so this is a really fun way to take astrology with you, whether you're using your Google Cal or your Android calendar or Windows or whatever form you use. This will work in any system and it will travel with you in any time zone. And it has the planetary events, it has the lunar events, and it also has the moon void of course events. So I hope that you enjoy it all year long. This is our gift to you. Use Stormie 2025 and you'll get that discount code. So today, Cancer, we're going to go over quickly just what the planets are in terms of spiritual development. We're going to look at a quarterly breakdown for you, and then we're going to look at your major theme for 2025, which I think may surprise some of you. So we'll see. Okay, when we're thinking about spiritual development in astrology, right? Mercury, we know, rules the mind, the way we think, our learning processes, our learning styles, right? But it also rules the nervous system. And so when we are making decisions from fight, flight, fright, freeze, we are making them from a distorted place. And so Mercury has a huge place in terms of spiritual development because we might not be able to choose our first thought, but we have the ability to course correct and choose our second thought and choose our mindset in the way that we are thinking through things. Venus, not just about love and money, but also how we spend our energy and how we receive energy. So how good is it? How good are you willing to let it be? How much goodness can you welcome into 2025? Mars shows us about our spiritual mission statement. Jupiter shows us our faith. Saturn shows us our discipline. Uranus shows us our spiritual networks, the groups of people that help us with our keeping our lives together and on focus and planned out and inspired. And then Neptune, right? What needs to dissolve? What needs to let go? What needs to disintegrate into the ethers? Pluto shows us that subconscious gold, that stuff that's really from just the shadow side of life that is up for healing and regeneration. Pluto is that phoenix rising energy. Chiron is the master healer, of course. And then the moon shows us more about our intuition and our psychic abilities. I've got an email product called 40 Days of Spirit that gives you something to do each day via email to build your psychic abilities and your spiritual abilities. You were born wise. You have it in you. You don't need to hire somebody else. You've got this. But the moon helps us understand in our chart and in the skies how we receive our psychic information or our spiritual information as we connect and as we develop a relationship with our higher power. So the nodes, the nodes of the moon, the north node is what we are eating. It's the head of the dragon. It's what we are embracing, grasping for, hungry for, reaching for. And then the south node is the tail of the dragon, which is what we are eliminating, letting go of, removing, releasing. Okay, the outer planets in 2025, Pluto's staying the same in Aquarius, but 4 outer planets are changing. And so I'm sure that you've heard about that earlier in the forecast. I just want to note that it's a really big year of change, right? And so as we look into this first quarter for you, Cancer, I think this first quarter would be a great time to do some sort of higher education, continuing education, something for your career development. Yep, I have a Dolly Parton quote for your quarter here to remind you, like this is, there can be joy in your work. When you are working for a higher power, when you're working for your spiritual purpose, the people and the bosses and the colleagues and the employees and the problems and the challenges and the gifts, none of it matters because you are working for something higher than yourself. So early in January here, earlier in the year, we get the nodes shifting. So the nodes are moving from Aries Libra into Virgo Pisces, right? And so this is the wellness pipeline. Virgo is Mercury, right? Like this is all about the practical side. And then Pisces is ruled by Neptune and Jupiter, which is all about the spiritual expansion side. So we are balancing the practical with the spiritual. But early in January, all of us we're needing to embrace, right, the positive sides of Pisces, which are this spiritual intuition, compassion, artistic side, right, flow. And then what we are eliminating are the challenging sides of Virgo, right? So where we can get the tendency to overthink, overanalyze, be a little bit judgy, be a little bit too critical, trying to control things or manage things, or fade, right? Fade in my lineage is fix, argue, defend, explain. So if you find yourself trying to justify or explain or go into a reasoning, like you're in mind and you're using your logic so hard to explain to somebody something, maybe try the Piscean approach of hands off and just love them with unconditional love. All right. Now, Cancer, for you specifically, right? You, again, this is a quarter where you might really benefit from going back to school or continuing education or getting like a workshop in something that you really crave, that you're learning something perhaps about your own spiritual abilities or your religion or your faith walk or something like this. You are really poised well to expand your mind, expand your horizons, learn a new language, something like this over the next 18 months. With the South Node in Virgo, you're really having to let go of control. You're really having to let go of overanalyzing things or fixing things for people that didn't ask for help. It's a big deal and it's a practice. It's not a perfect. So you get to practice all year long. Now, Saturn is closing in on a conjunction with Neptune. And so we're tracing this and we're tracking this now in 2025. And we will also see more of the story as it reveals later in 2026. But as these two planets are traveling at the end of Pisces and into Aries together, there's a huge duality, right? Saturn is the banks of the river. Neptune is the river itself. We need both. We need limitations and the ability to flow. There's a masculine and feminine principle that is presenting itself to us. But here, while it's in Pisces, right, that's our spiritual nature. And so spirituality becomes serious, Saturn, business. Saturn is about maturity, responsibilities, duties, right, things like this. And Neptune is really about checking out and escapism and fantasy. So I have some dualities listed here for you, but overall, right, it's a 9-year. So we know we need to integrate. We need to integrate structure, Saturn, into the spiritual side of life, our spiritual studies. All right, so Cancer, Mars is retrograde in your sign as we start out, and Mars will go the year, and Mars will go direct in February. So Mars has been retrograde for a while here, since December 6th of 2024. It started out in Leo. It goes back into your sign. Mars is uncomfortable in your sign. It creates kind of passive aggressive behavior or repressed emotions that spill out sideways. It can help people get in touch with their anger in some ways. You'll see some mood swings out there, people having internal conflict. And so you're going to need to read the body language and read between the lines and use your intuition. Don't make assumptions, but realize like it's a period when people might not be in touch with what's really disturbing them or why they're feeling a little bit more restless in some ways or not able to get in touch with their emotions. So this emotional navigation is important. So with Mars retrograde in your sign, right, Mars retrograde can act like a mini Venus and the bad behavior of Venus, which is lazy, okay? So you might feel less energy, you might feel more lethargic. So if you are doing the continued education thing, you might be doing like some learning from your laptop in bed or something that's really easy, an easy way to take in information and rest. You could be more sensitive to criticism. So being aware of that, you don't have to have a reaction. You can say, wow, there it is today. That's the yoga. I experienced some criticism and I just took a deep breath and unhooked from it and embraced it instead of had some kind of volatile reaction or volatile emotional experience. So this is a reminder that early in the year, right, downtime is not wasted time. Downtime is not wasted time ever, but with this transit anyway. Then Venus retrogrades and so does Mercury. So as Mars goes direct, Venus then retrogrades. And when Venus retrogrades, it acts like a mini Mars in the sky. So now we kind of have two little Mars brothers in the sky here. And with Venus retrograde, right, the REs come into play with the retrogrades. So reevaluating things that are Venus-y, love and money, reassessing things like our values, how we find our sense of worth, our self-worth. Are we finding our sense of worth in the things that we own, or is there something higher involved? So we are looking for resolution, integration, and redoing some things to tie off the loose ends, of course. What to do here, right? Reconnect with your old friends, make heart-to-heart connections, maybe some reunions. What not to do is make big, huge, drastic changes to your appearance or your love life or your finances. Drastic stuff does not go well during retrogrades. So just breathe through it, let more be revealed over time, and then watch the patterns over time. What you're evaluating is going through your spiritual house. And so you might have some questions about like what is it that you really do believe when it comes to your faith or your spiritual walk? What is it that you're trying to get away from? Where are you trying to escape? What do you want to be free from, and what do you want to be free for? So this is a time when you can really connect into that power of unconditional love, and we all deserve more unconditional love, not less. So I mentioned Mercury was also going to be retrograde. So this Aries Pisces side of your chart is super activated. Again, Mercury governs the nervous system, our nervous disorders, things like anxiety and panic, but it also is this neutrality. And so finding nervous system neutrality, either through biochemical neutrality, through rebalancing the gut health axis or things like this, helps you be clear to make better decisions. So Cancer, this is another opportunity for you to get some training in a job that you want to do, or if you're not the Cancer that's working and you're more staying at home or enjoying a different type of lifestyle, this can have to do with the way that you present yourself. And so having like a master's degree or having a certification in this thing could help with your self-esteem and the way that you present your world in some way. You present yourself to your world. It could also be a time that you are reconnecting with former workplaces, former colleagues, jobs that you always wanted to have, right? Like I have this crazy job wish. Like I've always wanted to work for Farm Aid, which is so wild. I'm not moving up there, but I just like things like that could crop up for you. Like, oh, I always wanted to work for this cause or this group of people or whatever. And that might circle back around for you around this time in spring. So there's 4 eclipses this year. The first 2 are in March, of course, and this first one is in Virgo, which has to do with our health and wellness and our day-to-day routine. So there's some of you that might be having a wake-up call when it comes to the routines that you need to shift in order to improve your health, which includes mental wellness, of course. There's going to be big shifts, so power surges with eclipses, so power surges or power outages, where we're either like plugged into the energy way too much or not enough at all, and there's a vacuum. And so that feeling of like intensity around the eclipse times, too much work or not enough, too much health stuff or not enough. For you, Cancer, clear communication, right? Being clear is being kind. Being unclear is being unkind. Brene Brown, right? You may have important conversations that help you get clear on things that have felt unresolved, especially when it comes to your siblings, your neighbors, your neighborhood, your childhood school, or elements of your life that happened during elementary school. Or something with your immediate environment. So this is an opportunity to really reorganize the way that you experience life, especially through the lens of siblings, neighbors, and your environment. So this full moon lunar eclipse is right here, and it's part of a larger lunar moon family cycle, right? And so this moon family cycle started back in September of 2023 and will culminate in December of 2025. So right now here in March of 2025, you are getting more information under the full moon. More is revealed, more light is shining down. You can see more. And so there's some theme having to do around this 21, 23 degrees of Virgo in your chart that is replaying itself, right? That is giving you a view of a pattern, that is giving you view of a journey. And so you can really go deep with that and work with your astrologer. Okay, March 29th, there's a new moon solar eclipse at 9 degrees of Aries. And so this kicks off a new moon family cycle that will culminate in June of 2027, which is a really fascinating year to be studying. The eclipses in Aries happen, the eclipse moments, I should say, happen quick and fade quick. And so you can have your eclipse moment up to 90 days before the actual eclipse takes place. So just be aware of that. And you'll know when your eclipse moments are happening. And Aries is a fire sign, so be cautious with fire hazards, fire safety, things like this. Be cautious with heated moments. We see people make really rash decisions, and sometimes you need that energy to build to make that decision, but sometimes the energy is building and you're trying to release the pressure, and you kind of make a sideways decision that you may regret. So being really clear with your decisions around this time, because sometimes they're unreversible, right? This is when we see people issue divorces or quit jobs or do things that are just in the heat of the moment when maybe a little time passing would have been helpful. I feel like this is a time when you could have a career breakthrough, when you might have some new energy and some new life with your professional walk. You could be recognized or seen or, presented in new light. It could be that there's a project that you're engaged with that shifts your reputation or the way the world sees you. And it could be that you are asked to move quickly when it comes to work-related decisions. All right, towards the end of the first quarter, Neptune is going to move into Aries. It spends 12 to 14 years in each sign. It's been in Pisces, right? This age of entertainment and movies and fantasy and the rise of yoga and all of these things that are very Neptunian and Piscean, right, in nature. Shifting from Pisces, water, intuitive, into Aries, fire, hot, feisty, is a big jump, isn't it? All right, so water to fire, right? And so these are here are the dates of Neptune and Aries, right? They vary a little here because of the retrograde cycle. Neptune is into the mystic. Neptune spiritualizes and blends and is the great yoga teacher in the sky. And Aries is that hot, fiery trailblazer, pioneer, first idea, let's go, self-improvement, first to the table, fire starter, right? And so Neptune into Aries, I love, I was having a conversation with my friend Celeste Brooks about Neptune and Aries, and she helped come up with this phrase of fate and free will. And that's such a great way to think about Neptune and Aries. Neptune is our fate. It's what's fated. And then Aries, right? Our free will, our ability to choose to follow that path or not. I was born with curly hair. That's my fate. My decision to straighten it, curl it, tie it up in a knot, which I do every day, wear it wavy, that's my free will, right? So that's a blend of working those two things together. For a poor example, but you get the message. So Cancer, for you, Neptune into Aries is going to shift how the world sees you. So what do you want to be known for? What's your legacy? What's your reputation? What's changing with your job? That's why training yourself or getting any kind of advanced certificate or learning or just reading a new book, listening to a new podcast that inspires you to present yourself in a way that's really aligned with what you want to do with your spiritual mission in this life is going to be so important, right? Going to be so important. All right, so the next quarter, I want you to lean into faith, right? Jupiter's moving into your sign. I want you to lean into your faith. And anytime you are afraid or things aren't going to your plan or you're diving into control, how can you lean back into faith, right? We just want to move from that control into faith this year. So, yep, a little song from Mariah for you there to sing in your head. Saturn moves into Aries this time of the year. Saturn is like the military granddad in the sky that is on time, that is forward thinking, that has a vision for your life, that has a plan, that has a savings account, that is strict, that is requires maturity, requires boundaries, requires direction, right? And then we've got Fireball Aries, okay? And so for you, Cancer, well, I guess before I wanted to mention this too, we will see this collective shift. So Saturn will be in Aries for 2.5, 3 years, depending on the retrograde cycle. And so we will see new initiatives in Saturn and Aries themes. So Saturn is bones, like chiropractic, it's teeth, right? Dentistry. Aries rules the face, so optometry, and like for your eyes and ear, like all of the face. I think we'll see some new initiatives there. Now for you, Cancer, this is creating a new foundation, Saturn, right? With anything that has to do with processes or procedures or rules or strategies with your mission, with your life's greatest gift, with why you came here. So do you have a pre-birth memory of why you came here? I do. I remember very clearly a pre-birth memory where it was like the God orb or the higher power orb was asking, who can go down there and love people? I just need people to love people. And I remember very clearly my pre-birth energy saying, me, pick me, I want to go down there and love people, right? And that's clear. So now I know who my teachers are because they are here to love people and I can fall into alignment with that. And so for you, maybe you have a different mission, maybe you have the same mission, but the idea is what is your mission and how do you want to represent or represent yourself to the world by sharing what you stand for and what you believe in? Jupiter moves into your sign in June for a whole year, which is awesome. I love I love working with people when they're having Jupiter transits. I especially get a lot of clients that have Jupiter moving into their 10th house. They're starting a new 12-year cycle with their career. So that might be curious for you to consider. But yeah, Jupiter was previously in Cancer back in 2013 for that summer cycle. So you could look back to themes that were, what were you doing in 2013? What was going on? Jupiter rules not only our faith, right, but our religion, our spiritual walk. It expands our minds and hearts. It rules foreign languages. It rules big horses and large animals. It rules publishing companies. Jupiter represents legislation and justice and the law and fairness and what's right. So are you in right relationship with yourself, Cancer, right? Cancer rules the home, mothering, nurturing tendencies, the nest. It rules our intuition and cooking in the kitchen and good recipes and thinking ahead for what we're going to be cooking. It rules our psychic side, our emotional intelligence. And themes that we all might see are real estate expansion, getting an Airbnb rental going, kitchen renovation, family growth, or some kind of enhanced intuition, right? So for you particularly, right, faith and family are going to be big themes of Jupiter and Cancer, but for you particularly, I want you to walk confidently in your faith. Even if you are questioned, if you are martyred, if you are persecuted, I want you to stay strong in what you believe. And if you don't know what you believe, or if you are struggling with what you believe, then I want you to get really, really curious and be honest with yourself and keep asking the questions until you know for sure that you are solid in what you believe, right? Spiritually. Trust your intuition and explore your psychic abilities. Your personal development, how you are evolving as a soul, is deeply tied, right, to your own spiritual journey and the way that you express yourself. And so don't be afraid to walk confidently, just like you got an ace in your hand, you know, no matter what, nothing can shake you. Okay. Mercury is going to retrograde again in the sign of Leo, so fire sign Leo. And for you, this is going to be a time when you might be budgeting, reassessing your finances and spending. You might want to be more conservative at this time, or review your material things, clean out the closet, get rid of the stuff, or share or pass on your loved treasures that are no longer the vibe for this year for you. You might have some unexpected expenses that encourage you to tighten up your budget and know where your money is being leaked. You might be aware of how you have spent money, like you've had a little too much fun, Leo, right? Or you might be aware that you need to have a savings account for this fun money. Now, this is also not just about money, but about our values. And so one thing that you can do to identify your standards of integrity are to write a list of 5 to 10 people. What did I say here? I just said a list of people. So 5 to 10 people that you know, that you admire, that you love, living or dead, saint or sinner, doesn't matter. Your 10 people that you absolutely adore, right? And I want you to then write all of the qualities of these people underneath that. And then I want you to see yourself in those qualities. Those are your core values. You can cut some out, add some in, whatever you want to do. It's your creative project. But how can you adjust that list and see like, oh, that's myself. That's my standard of integrity. And how am I spending? How am I saving? How am I living my life in a way that reflects those standards of integrity? All right, Cancer, the next little chapter here is about finding new dimensions of the heart. It's really about your spiritual walk, deepening and deepening. All my dreams pass before my eyes, a curiosity. Isn't that a fun quote to use here? Uranus is moving into Gemini. So it's been in Taurus, Earth sign. Uranus, the planet of Einstein, aha moments, shock and awe, spasms, big cosmic changes, shaking up foundations and just really leaving the rubble so that there's something to rebuild. Uranus is brilliant inventions, and Gemini rules our wrists, our hands, our shoulders, right? It represents our lungs. Gemini's our curiosity, the way that we understand things. And so there's some themes here, right, that we can see. When Uranus was in Gemini previously, we had the first aerial photography. So will we see more aerial photography stuff like drones? The Carrington event of 1859, will we see more solar events? Will there be educational reform? Gemini rules early childhood education. Will we see an increase in homeschooling? Yep, I gave you a good list here. Genetics, space communication, self-driving cars, extreme weather, all of that is very Uranus and Gemini, isn't it? So it'll be there for a while. So it's not like this is your moment. It's not like all of this is going to unfold right now in July of 2025, but you're starting to see the shifts and the trends change. For you, Cancer, you can expect a power surge, Uranus, when it comes to your spiritual awakening. So all your dreams pass before your eyes, a curiosity. Isn't it fun to be in this brilliant human life? You might be drawn to alternative healing therapies. You might be drawn to unconventional ways of expressing your spiritual walk. This is a year of profound personal growth for you. So I want you to pay attention to your intuitive messages. Maybe some of you are into soul writing, or remembering your dreams, or doing some kind of prophetic writing, or just tapping into your spiritual abilities more and more, and learning about them, learning about the anatomy of them. In September, we have 2 eclipses. And so this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces is going to help you open your mind again to new ways of developing those spiritual gifts and abilities. You're going to feel closer and closer to your higher power. You're going to be on the path more and more deeply. It's going to wow you. It's going to bless you. And I just want to give you a heads up that Pisces, right, it's a water sign, and those Pisces eclipses tend to be more draining, more drowsy, more watery. And so you might have a little less energy around this time. You want to boost your immune system health. You want to be clear about boundary issues or codependency problems or challenges. Pisces rules the feet. So if you need to take extra special care of your feet, that's good. But Pisces needs to disintegrate something. So if something's falling apart in your life, let it, and watch it and bless it down the river of life. And this sequence is here. So this, whatever themes are occurring for you as patterns in your life, you could look back to March of 2024 when this moon family started and know that this sequence will complete in June of 2026. And there are some dates and degrees for you to work with your astrologer on that. All right, the last eclipse of the year is in Virgo, which is where we started, right? And so this particular one kicks off a new 2.5-year cycle that will culminate in December of 2027, which is a fascinating year to study. So again, these power surges or outages, meaning we have a lot of energy or not at all in the themes of Virgo, health and routine. So what you do on your day-to-day life, what you do in your routine, your normal routine, is affecting your health, right? So if some system is broken in your health, it's going to be more exacerbated during eclipse time, right? And so we want to approach eclipse season with our best, most vital health and wellness possible. Okay, so communication and learning are highlighted for you, Cancer, particularly new studies, new developments with what we say, what we share, loose lips, sink ships. So be careful of gossip. You don't want to listen to it. You don't want to be part of it. You don't want to contribute to that. You might want to be writing your memoir or starting a new platform, like maybe you're starting your podcast or something. You know, there's something that's brewing up that is going to help you when it comes to the way that you have information to share. All right. Now, the last quarter of the year, come together, Beatles. Okay, so coming together means that we are going to need to be involved with other people, especially the last quarter of the year. So let's see what that means. Mercury is going to be retrograde here in November from fire sign Sag into water sign Scorpio. And for you, this is going to be like, okay, the eclipse is going to show you something about your health and your routine and your wellness and the way that you're sharing information about that, perhaps about those topics. And all of those patterns are going to work together. And then this retrograde cycle is going to say, well, you like that? What do you think about this? Let's revisit that. Let's think that through a little bit more. Let's make some different kinds of connections. Let's rework those ideas. And this is going to help. This is going to be a great time for you to do routine maintenance, right? So the oil change before you need it, the air filter before you need it, the water filter before you need it. You might also be reworking some matters of the heart, your own creative projects, the children in your life, the areas where you want to tap into that inner child passion and joy and what makes you happy. Just notice, is something feeling a little bit off balance? It's just giving you information that you can, there's another way to get in more balance. And so how are those themes showing up for you this time of year? Can you take the heat off? Can you take the pressure off? Can you let somebody off the hook? Mercury retrograde is a great time just to remember to forgive people. We're not here to be anybody's judge or jury. We are here to love each other. So Cancer, your main theme this year is about sharing. Isn't that fun? It's about sharing. So what are some words that have to do with sharing? Communal, pooled, mutual, bonding. You are building your new life. You might want to integrate tech into the way that you share resources or that you share information, or you might share logins or something like with your family. I don't know. But there's some tech aspect into this game plan of 2025 for you. So be aware of what you are sharing, because when you are sharing information or space or housing or conversations or airwaves with people, you're blending into them, right? And so we want to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with the people that are going to help you on your spiritual walk, help you on your spiritual path, be your best cheerleaders, but also not be afraid to call you out or say, hey, have you thought about this other perspective? And help you on your growth path. So being super aware of where you are sharing energy with people and where that is a good thing and where you might need to tidy up. Sharing doesn't mean no boundaries at all. It means, you know, we are stronger together in some joint venture. So how are you experiencing mighty changes within your shared resources, Cancer? I want to know about it. All right. So one more little time to remind you that if you don't have the digital astrology calendar yet, it is an awesome product. Let the universe have your back in 2025. It travels with you in any time zone, goes on any device at all. You can use the coupon code Stormie 2025 and get $10 off. It is, you won't regret it. And it's one of my favorite products that we've developed over the years. And so I just really encourage you to give it a shot, share it with a friend. This code is good all year, so Stormie 2025. And again, I'm Tiffany Harlick. I'd love to stay connected. This is my website. Make sure you grab your free horoscope PDF. I'm on YouTube. I have a podcast. I email a Friday forecast in my newsletter every week. I offer a spiritual development membership through astrology and psychic awareness. And so if you'd like, if I feel like a good fit as a teacher for you, I welcome you in. Come join us. I mentioned the 40 Days of Spirit product. It is an email product. You get 1 email a day with tools and strategies and techniques for you to connect with spirit. And I offer retreats. So if you would like for me to come to your area, let me know. In 2024, we did Tulum and Austin. And this year we are doing Santa Fe and Malibu and maybe wherever you are. My final message for you, Cancer, is to love each other. We're here to love each other. We're here to love God. We're here to love our higher power and feed each other, feed people. And so I feel like, you know, you guys are so blessed at that. Like, you're so good at that, Cancer. You already have this intuitive way of knowing what people need and knowing how to love them. On behalf of the 2025 Astrology Forecast team, we thank you for being here. Stay tuned. We have more goodies for you that we're going to release throughout the year. And we're all wishing you a blessed and prosperous year in 2025. All right. Thank you, Cancers, and namaste.